What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus package update, stimulus check update, and daily news. Everything going on here in our country, in Washington, D.C. Everything you need to know about money, investing, the stock market. We cover it all here on our YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure to click the subscribe button right now. It's completely free to do so you don't miss out on new videos that come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, thank you so much for hitting the like button for us down below. We got a lot to cover here. Let's jump right in. Also, I will have a special guest appearance for you guys at the end of this video, so make sure to watch all the way to the end for a special guest appearance. Ottawa, Canada declares an emergency as the truckers' protests spin out of control. Police issue hundreds of tickets in attempt to rein in the protests, saying, quote, "We have got to get our city back," says City Mayor Jim Watson. You can see a picture here of the trucker blockade on the border of the United States and Canada that is blocking shipping routes here. Well, not shipping, but trucking routes, I should say, that are shipping goods here between the United States and Canada, and is further exacerbating the supply chain shortages and problems here, especially on the U.S.-Canadian border. And yeah, you could just see here. Look at that. Look at that picture. I mean, they have just literally just stopped there and are blocking these routes. Ottawa Mayor Jim Watson, who declared the emergency, said in a statement that the increasingly rowdy demonstrations posed a, quote, "serious danger and threat to the safety and security of the residents." Hundreds of trucks continue to occupy the downtown area near Canada's Parliament, with no sign that the protesters plan to leave. The protest started in reaction to Canadian and U.S. laws that went into effect in January, requiring truckers crossing the border to be fully vaccinated. They have since morphed into a rally against these virus restrictions more broadly in this, quote, "freedom convoy," and has expanded to cities across the country, and has been championed by the likes of Fox News and by podcaster Joe Rogan, Tesla billionaire Elon Musk, and former President Donald Trump. U.S. demonstrators plan to follow the Canadian protests with similar convoys to Washington, D.C. Watson said in an interview on Sunday with a local radio station, "The situation at this point is completely out of control because the individuals with the protests are calling the shots." He says, quote, "They have far more people than we have police officers. The nerves of local Ottawa residents are frayed beyond belief," quote, "and they're suffering as protesters blare horns and ignite fireworks," Watson said. Additional officers from Royal Canadian Mounted Police are being brought in from other parts of the province, he said. Quote, "Clearly we're being outnumbered and we're losing this battle right now. This has to be reversed. We have to get our city back." Wow. Let me know your thoughts on this down below in the comments. I will keep you up to date on this. Meanwhile, much of the U.S. is still trying to recover from Winter Storm Landon. There was a 16-car pileup in Memphis, Tennessee, and power outages went over 200,000 people. Many people tens of thousands of people are still without power. Let me know if you are still dealing with this, if any of your friends or relatives are still dealing with this, if you're watching this from a cell phone data without power. Yeah, and the question is, are we going to get another one this week? Because it's just been relentless here across the U.S. The cold and the snow and the winter storms just been crazy. Next up is House Speaker Nancy Pelosi speaking on the Build Back Better stimulus package.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On that legislation by Congressman Meeks, once it's done and when it's ready,
Yeah.
do you plan to fast track that, bring it straight to the House floor, possibly skipping markup? And then I just wonder if you can respond. We heard some comments from Senator Joe Manchin this week saying that Build Back Better is dead. I know in your previous press conference you referenced possibly that it could be renamed or rebranded, taking...
Well, you got a couple different questions there. Before you go on to a third, let me address the first two. First, well, we're going to be briefed. Mr. Mix will be presiding on our side at the briefing, the Ukraine briefing, and what we want to move quickly with these. Now, that'll be up to the chairman as to the process and the rest. But we want to be as close to the Senate bill as possible so there's no delay in getting something to the president's desk. The second part is I'm never giving up on BBB. There's so much in there that is really important in terms of child tax credit, in terms of family health care for families, that is to say, not just children, but seniors or siblings with disabilities and the rest, with universal pre-K. This is it's about lowering cost for the American people, lowering the cost of health care, lowering the cost of child care, lowering the cost of family care, lowering the cost of education at the pre-K level. And we must get something done. And of course, a very important part of it is what we're doing about the climate crisis. And there are plenty of things in there where I think that we can find common ground. So I'm not giving up on the PPP.
Potentially, I know you mentioned it could possibly remain.
Well, that's incidental. I mean, what's important is what's in the legislation. Lowers cost, increases pay, and is completely paid for. So one other thing about it is when we talk about inflation, people say, oh, you're spending money on this or that. This is completely paid for. Not only is it paid for, it will, in fact, reduce the national debt because it is, we raised so much more money because we thought we were going to do so much more. So I'm very, we cannot abandon it. We must proceed. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
So what's interesting there is Nancy Pelosi actually hints at that this bill could actually reduce the national debt if the bill actually ends up being a little bit smaller because of Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema, that the pay-fors actually could pay for more than the bill might end up being. So thereby it could actually be more than paid for and could reduce the national debt when all is said and done, which is interesting. I think that's maybe the first time I've heard of that or thought about that. But when all is said and done, that is an interesting thought that it could be more than paid for and could reduce the national debt. Wouldn't that be interesting or ironic to think about? Uh, after all is said and done, and if Joe Manchin signs on and passes it, that instead of inflation, it actually could reduce the national debt. Yeah, so that's what a lot of people really don't understand that she kind of talked about there is that it's not just about spending, because if you have money coming in to pay for things, um, I mean, remember that Republicans pay for things, Democrats pay for things, there's bipartisan pay for things. I mean, remember they pass bills all the time, right? But if they're paid for, it doesn't necessarily add to inflation. So, and remember that there's $800 billion of stimulus money that would be separate, in addition to this Build Back Better package that is already sitting there and is already accounted for. Okay, so this is from stimulus package 1, 2, and 3 underneath Trump, and Biden. Stimulus package 1 and 2 were underneath former President Trump. 3 is underneath Biden. There's $800 billion with a B of stimulus money between the three of them combined that is available right now. So almost $1 trillion based on a recent report that is still available, and that they can use that for anything. They can use that to send out a stimulus check. Remember that the $1,400 stimulus check only costs about half of that. So they could reappropriate that money through an executive order, or the Democrats could use it in a stimulus package. They could use it for rent assistance, utility assistance. They could use it for anything they really want to. I mean, remember, there's $800 billion. So the last stimulus check only cost $400 billion. And remember that a lot of people think that another stimulus check might be even a little bit more targeted. So instead of people that, remember the last stimulus check went out and made to 70 people making 75 to $80,000, they might lower that a little bit, so that people making $80,000 might not get a stimulus check this time around, and they might lower that income threshold a little bit, or they might even increase the check a little bit, but reduce the amount of people that get it, so that people making 75 to $80,000 aren't getting it. And remember that this money, there's $800 billion of it that's already been approved by Congress. It's already been accounted for. It's already been paid for, or it's already been, approved by Congress, right? From the first three stimulus packages. There's money from all three. Kind of add that up, and there's $800 billion. So it wouldn't add any money to inflation, or it wouldn't add any money to the debt, because it's already there. It's already accounted for. So they could theoretically send out a stimulus check or two, even if they wanted to use all the money there, and it wouldn't add anything to inflation or to the national deficit, because it's already accounted for. It's already accounted for. It wouldn't add a dime to either of them. It's already there. It's money that's already been accounted for. It's already in all the figures. So they could literally send that out here tomorrow. They'd have to reappropriate it. So probably an executive order would be the perfect way to do that. That is exactly how former President Donald Trump reappropriated his money through stimulus checks, or unemployment stimulus checks, whatever you want to do it. He basically took the money from the disaster relief fund, did the executive order, and basically took the money that was already appropriated through Congress and the disaster relief fund, and he sent them out through the unemployment stimulus checks. 6 stimulus checks for $300 each, a total of $1,800 checks went out to millions of Americans through the unemployment stimulus checks that Trump did. Okay, and some people actually got more, because some states pitched in an extra $100 per week, so some people actually got $2,400 there. So, and again, that was money that was already approved by Congress and was sitting there in a fund, which is exactly the same case we have now. It's money already approved by Congress. There's $800 billion this time. Last time, I don't think there was that much there. I don't remember the exact amount of money, but I think there was less than $200 billion in that case. Maybe, yeah, much less than that. I don't remember the exact amount. But in this case, there's a lot of money there. There's a lot of money there. They could do a lot of different things with this money, and it's stimulus money. So they have to do something with it at some point. Okay, it's stimulus funds. So the question is, what are they going to do with this stimulus money? And the other thing is that I don't think that Joe Manchin or Kirsten Sinema would really have a problem with this either, because again, this is money that's already been approved, and it wouldn't add to inflation or the national debt. It's already money that's there and has to be spent on something for stimulus. So what better way to spend the stimulus money than to give it to the people? And again, they could send out a $1,400 to $2,000 stimulus check with just half the money, because there's literally $800 billion of it available, and it's stimulus money. It's just sitting there, if anything, gaining interest. Well, I don't know if the government gains interest on its own money. I don't know, maybe. Can they gain interest on their own money? Can they pay themselves interest? Maybe. I don't know. That's an interesting thought. But yeah, so they have to spend it on something eventually here. So the question is, what will that be on? They can't spend it on roads and bridges. That's the physical infrastructure package. That's already been passed. That was something that we've needed for a long time. Infrastructure Week was a long-running joke. Not really a joke, but a long-running kind of joke that they had for many, many years. It's Infrastructure Week, where Republicans and Democrats talked about Infrastructure Week, because for many, many years, through Republicans and Democratic presidents, they were trying to pass infrastructure, and they couldn't get it done. And finally, they got it done, because physical infrastructure long has been needed to pass. And we actually fell in the infrastructure rankings worldwide. down, way down in the rankings worldwide. We've also fallen way down in the rankings for schooling as well, and that's something we need to bring up. And passing universal pre-K is something that could help us come up in the rankings. Something that could help us out here dramatically as well. Um, that is something in the Build Back Better package if it holds, if it stands in there. Senator Joe Manchin has said he is willing to rebrand, rename, and negotiate for multiple different things here in this package. In fact, there's some new stuff coming in here I'll probably have for you guys in the next video. So stay tuned for that. But the question is that what will they be able to pass? The Build Back Better package is separate from the $800 billion. The $800 billion is money that's already passed. Okay, what they're going to do with that, we'll see. I mean, they could just reappropriate that. They could do it through executive order. They can just send it out. We'll have to see how they do that, when they do that. If they add it in through new packages, we'll have to see exactly how they do that, right? But then we'll also have the Build Back Better packages, and they're also considering new packages to add new money. If I don't know if exactly we need new money, but I mean, if you know anything about government spending, right? More is better when it comes to government spending, right? Yeah. So let me know your thoughts.
How's it pooping?
How's it pooping?
Yeah, it's pooping, guys.
Do you want to tell everybody you're learning to go potty?
No, no, no,
No,
no,
no, no.
no, 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 no.
Why are you trying to eat me?
Because I'm trying to eat you, Daddy.
Why?
I'm trying to eat you, but no. No, 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 no. Go get some
I don't think we have any left, buddy.
No, yeah, go get some watermelon. Yeah,
Okay,
go get some.
we'll go look here in a second. Can you ask everybody if they made any snowmans?
They made any snowman? You did! They did make snowmans!
Yeah, maybe they've been making snowmans at home. Say bye-bye. We love you.
Bye-bye, we poo-poo. Poo-poo, I love you.
All right, and say, make sure to subscribe
Make sure to be right by the poop.
and say click here to watch our next video.
To get the rest of poop.
And say we'll see you in the next video.
See you in the next poop poop.